I'm like, how come you don't have a course? So it's like courses are the things to have. So let's get to a point to look at people and like, how come you're not teaching that? Like, that's your gift. How come you're not teaching that? And so then connected. We've got to stay connected. You have no idea who you can become until you get connected to the right people. Until you get connected to the people who are further along in the journey than what you are. Because guess what? When you're staying back with those broke mindset people, that's what you're going to end up, is broke, right? And we've all heard you're the average of the 5 people that you hang around the most. So if the people that you are hanging around are further along than you, or where you are aspiring to be, it just motivates you and pushes you forward. Because either you're going to have people that are going to pull you backwards, or you're going to hang around the people who are going to push you forward. So I don't know about you, but I want to stay connected to those people who are going to push me forward. So here's what I want you to do. The next time you have the mindset of, I can't do that, I need you to call it technical. If somebody comes to you with an idea that can push you forward, with an idea that can help you financially, with an idea that could potentially put income in your bank account, and you're like, that's too risky, technical. Call it technical on yourself. I need you to recognize your own defensive mechanism. We are so defensive. I'll be the first to admit, the first time I heard you can use your 401k in order to start investing in real estate. Technical, that's too risky. Not doing it, too risky. And then I heard it again. I was like, maybe I should do some research on this. Maybe there's something into that. So the next time you're defensive about something that can help put income in your pocket, call it technical. The next time you are not using your skill set to make income, technical. And then the next time when you have the opportunity to get connected to someone that's further along on this journey than you, and you're like, I don't feel like getting my clothes on and getting dressed, technical. You have no idea. And I'll give just a little bit of my research, a little bit of my testimony. My first meeting coming to Master Builders Academy, and they had one of those breakout sessions. You know, the one, I hate those, technical. Like, I didn't even know it. I love that now. So we're going to do one a little bit later. But my first meeting, the first person I met was John Mays. John Mays said, so you use your Pampered Chef income to buy rental property? And I was like, I could. Second person I met was Bishop Michael E. Ford Jr., and he said, there's millionaires in this room. There's billionaires in this room. And you know what I do? I'm like, who the billionaire? Well, you know, I'm trying to figure out who the billionaire in this room, right? Third person I met was Mr. George Forey. Mr. George Forey gave me his business card and said, call me and I'll show you what I do. It took me 2 years to call Mr. George, but I finally called him and met with him to find out what he did. And then lastly, shout out to my Aunt Mary. Go ahead and drop my Aunt Mary some love in the comments. I kid you not, my Aunt Mary invited me to come to Master Builders Academy. I'm embarrassed to say, for like 3 years. She invited me. And I'll be honest, if I had been her, I would have given up on me. So now, if I continue to invite you to Master Builders Academy, you need to be thanking Aunt Mary too. Because she didn't give up on me, I'm not going to give up on you. So finally, call it technical on yourself when you have the mindset that I can't instead of how can I. I need you to delete the word can't from your memory bank and replace it with how can I. So the next time you're defensive, call it technical on yourself. The next time that you don't use your skill sets to provide income for your family, call it technical on yourself. And then lastly, the next time you say no to an opportunity to get connected with someone who is further along on the journey than you are, call it technical on yourself. So it's time to bet on you. And I'm going to leave you with this. The last job that I had applied for a job, and my mentor said, you need to do a 30, 60, 90-day plan. And I'm like, okay, bet. This is what I'm going to, if I get this job, this is what I'm going to do in the next 30 days. This is what I'm going to do the next 60 days. This is what I'm going to do the next 90 days. And I promise you, if I had gotten that job, I would have been so diligent about doing all of those things. So why is it when it comes to our personal lives and we do a 30, 60, 90 days, we don't bet on ourselves? We don't go in like we would have gone in for that employer. It's time for you to bet on you. So once you start betting on you, I'll see y'all Millionaires Row.
Fantastic. That was phenomenal, Dynamite Dana. Hey, that was wonderful. She said some powerful things there. And honestly, I'm still in that right there, to call a technical on you. Has there ever been anybody in here who's had to call a technical on your own self? Is there anybody who needs to call a technical on their own self right now? It's okay. This is a safe place to be able to admit these things. You know, oftentimes we suffer from limiting beliefs. There's things inside of our thoughts that said, that's not for me. Oh, that's too big. That's too grand. I remember the first time we were at Master Build Academy, I had that same mindset, which was a broke mindset. I didn't know it. I didn't know when people were talking about owning things, when people was talking about being a leader in different ways, I rejected it. I said, that's for them. I don't know about y'all. Can I be all the way real? Can I be on the video and everything? Can I be all the way real? Some people wasn't the best at a lot of stuff. Like when I was young, I wasn't the best at stuff. You know, I had to fight because people was picking on me. I'm just being honest. I didn't want to fight. I didn't like to fight. I prefer to run. But I'm just being honest. I wasn't the best student. I wasn't. And part of it was because I was lazy, but the other part was because I didn't get some of the stuff. So I just started being lazy, acting like I didn't care, but I didn't understand it and I didn't want to put no effort for it. You know, and so a lot of times when you've been like that and then you get to a certain place on teams, I remember being on a lot of different teams and I wasn't the best at that. You know, I can remember playing basketball, everybody would get picked and then I'd just be sitting there and I'd be the last one and I'd get on the team. You know why? Because they needed enough to be able to run the game sometimes. And I'm saying all these things because some of you have been the least in something that you've done. And over time, you've developed a sense of low self-esteem. Something inside of you believes that you're not the number one draft pick in life. Something in you believes that you're not the best or don't have the skill set, or something in you is in lack right now and in fear. And I'm asking you right now to take on a new mindset here today. Somebody say a new mindset. You want to shift your mindset now to say, hold on, that thing that I thought I was is an old appraisal. Come on now. Okay, I'm going to say this right here. It's an old, because we're using real estate examples. Okay, your house, you were appraised in 1990, 1995 at $20,000 worth of value. Now it's 2022. Now you worth 500,000, you worth $1 million, you worth $2 million, but you still working off your low valuation. So I want somebody in here to shift your mindset to a higher valuation. And however high that you appraise yourself to be is what you are. Allow yourself to be able to see your own self with that kind of value. And I guarantee you'll walk in it. Just like Dana is right now. Dana, are you still on the job now? So hold on. So in how many years of investing in being a business owner are you now off the job? I just want to make it clear to everybody. After 1 year. Come on, give it up for Dana. After 1 year, she invested in herself. She invested in the things that she knew. And then she had the courage and bravery surrounded by people to say, hey, you can do it. And now she's thriving in a way that I'm going to tell you, when we first walked in the door, we didn't even think we'd had the opportunity to thrive in. This information is for you. Next up, we are going to bring up I'm going to let you all know. You know, y'all know that I like to celebrate people, but this is a person I've really been wanting to celebrate for quite a while. This is a brother. He went on, I think it was 2019, Donnie, or was it 2020 when he was on Rob Bergeron, lunch, 2020. This brother came on 2020 on Rob Bergeron's lunch. It was a Korea free event. Once we went on, once everything went virtual because of the pandemic, it shut down. And I was like hungry for information. I'm always hungry for knowledge, hungry for information. he's one of the first black people I've seen come on anything at Korea besides George Forey. So I was like, oh, snap, it's a brother. So I'm watching in great detail, taking notes and everything. Like, I hope y'all are taking notes right now. And so I was all excited about it. And so when he talked, he shared so vulnerably, openly, and transparently about how he was working 9 to 5 in something that wasn't fulfilling, and how he made some mistakes in real estate investing, but he took the bravery to get into it, and then just kept going over and over and repeating, and how he was able to come and really become a 9 to 5 millionaire, and was really be able to buy his own freedom, if you will, to be able to pursue the things and his full potential. And I was so inspired listening to his story. I said, I want to do what this brother right here did. And I ain't never really got a chance openly to share those flowers, but like that session was impactful for me, and I appreciate you. And I wouldn't be leaving my W-2 job. I would still be chained up to something that I knew I had more to give if it wasn't for that spark. And so I wanted to just openly appreciate you for that before we get started. Can y'all give this brother some love? We got Mr. Donnie Atkins. He's a real estate investor, but we're not just bringing you any real estate investor. This brother right here is probably one of the most well-researched brothers. Like, if you have a conversation with him, if you're a researcher, I'm personally a researcher in a very deep way. I'm addicted to learning now, and he got some really great game, and he has a great way of articulating it. A real brother, Mr. Donnie Atkins. Thank you for joining us, sir. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you, man. Thank you, man. Appreciate you.
Good morning. All right. So this is my first time at Master Builders, and so I'll try to make this as succinct as possible. And I know we got some folks on TV, so I wanted to draw some stuff on the board. Let's see. Is there like a marker? Okay. But before I do that, I'll go with the crowd also, and I'll basically tell you all my why. Like why I ended up getting into real estate. So I'm Donnie Atkins, of course, born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. I'm from Southwick. I was there from birth until they shut it down. I moved to Atlanta for a little while, came back to Louisville, went to high school here, Southern High School, dropped out of high school, ended up going back to get my degree, my high school degree. I worked for the Housing Authority of Louisville for about 9.5 years. And when I was 20, as I was working at the Housing Authority, that was right around, some folks might remember this, but that was right around when the city and county was merging governments, so government merger. And my boss at the time came and told me, he said, you know what's gonna happen when we merge city and county governments? I said, no, what's gonna happen? He said, we're gonna have 2 of everybody. And so when you have 2 employees of everybody, guess what? Somebody's gonna get cut. Now I'm a 20-year-old, and guess what? I'm a 20-year-old, and I had 2 kids at the time. And so I was like, well, I'm a tourist, and I don't like to take a whole lot of direction, so what are my options? The only option I can guess at the time was to go to college. So as I was working at the Housing Authority of Louisville, I started going to night school. And so as I was going to night school, it's almost like when they say, the better you do, the luckier you get. So as I was going to night school, I started getting lucky all of a sudden. And so I was still doing my day job, but I was going to school at night. When I graduated with my bachelor's degree, the Housing Authority of Louisville promoted me. So I was the first person from what they call maintenance to management. The first person in the Housing Authority of Louisville from maintenance to management. And I was the ombudsman of the Section 8 office. And so I understood a lot about Section 8. Even now, I still understand a lot about Section 8, even though they've changed some of the stuff a little bit. And I was talking to David Tandy one day, and David Tandy was the council person over the district that I worked in, which was around Vine Street. And I told David I wanted to go to Focus Louisville, and I wanted him to pay for it. And he thought that was brash and bold, and he ended up paying for it. But one of the things that I got in Focus Louisville was a statistic. And the statistic was there was less than, I think it was like 1 or 2% of black men in Louisville who had master's degrees. Guess what my next job was? I was going to go get an MBA. And so I spent the next 2 years while working at the Housing Authority, while working as an ombudsman, going to get my MBA. And I went to Indiana Wesleyan University. So I graduated with my MBA, and I looked around, and I was like, you know what? I'm done here. Like, it's time for me to take off and go ahead and go to corporate America. And corporate America is where all the money is, you know. Well, it was where all the money is. So went to Humana, worked at Humana for several years. My background is in procurement and supply chain. I felt like I reached kind of my level at Humana. I moved to Indianapolis, and I managed all the supplier diversity for IU Health out of Indianapolis. Ended up meeting my wife. I was doing very, very well financially. My wife was wanting to do a fellowship, and we were just dating at the time. And so she wanted to do that fellowship in North Carolina. And so I moved to North Carolina, where I stayed for a whole year and did not work, but very, very enjoyed college life in North Carolina. And so we decided to move back to Louisville. It was either Louisville or Indianapolis, but my wife had a house, well, my wife now, but my fiance at the time had a house in Indianapolis. So when we moved to Louisville, we had to figure out what we were going to do with this house. And so I had this bright idea. It was just like, hey, let's rent this house out. And so a friend of a friend of a friend offered someone to basically rent that house out. And a little something about this house, it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house on a cul-de-sac, like right in the middle of the cul-de-sac. The mortgage was like $900 or something, but the person who was living there was paying like $400 because she couldn't afford it. But, we thought, we had a couple extra bucks in the bank, and, we were going to allow this person to stay here for $400. That did not work. Please do not do that. And so, several months, as would go by, she was a great housekeeper, but, we were writing a check every single month, not only for our living expenses, but for this person's, rent, so we can, send to the bank. And I decided, I was like, you know what? I need to figure out real estate in Indianapolis and figure out how do we make this right. So it took, unfortunately, she didn't want to leave, of course. She had the best deal in the United States. Of course, she's not going to want to leave. But when she did leave, unfortunately, we had to get an attorney involved. But that person left. I was called everything. I was called the devil. I was called all of this stuff. You'll never do well in this business. And so once she left, we ended up getting someone in that house and renting that house out for about $1,250 a month. And as I sat and started collecting those $1,250 a month rents and having extra money in that Indianapolis bank account, I'm still working. I'm in Louisville now. I think I was working at Young Brands at the time in supply chain. I said, if I can do this in Indianapolis that I'm not involved in, I wonder if I can do this in Louisville. And the rest is history. And I see, I'm going to pick on Pastor Snarden for a little while because I see him in here. My first house, my very first investment, the reason I made an investment is I had a why. And there's a theme up here that a lot of the speakers were talking about is like, what is your why? And so I had just real simple, like I'm a numbers guy. I'm like, I like to put stuff on paper because it has to make sense to me. So the why was, and I'll just, how much, if you go out and buy a car today, what is usually the car payoff terms? How many years? 5 to 7. And so I listen to a lot of Dave Ramsey, Susie Orman, like I'm a finance person. Susie Orman says if you can't pay it off in 3 to 5 years, you can't afford it. Don't buy it. So I said, okay, if you mean to tell me I can go buy a car for 30 grand and it takes 5 years to pay off, or I can go buy a house for 30 grand and takes 20 years to pay off. That makes sense to me. That makes a lot of sense to me. And so even if I don't do anything to the house, I don't fix it up, I don't do anything to it, I still have 20 years to figure it out. Whereas a car, I got to pay that high note every single month, and in 5 to whatever years, I own it. But that car, in 5 years, I'm going to want something different. Whereas this house, and this is the conversation I'm having with my wife, because my wife is just like, and so she said, okay, let's think about that. Let's start looking for houses that are really, really cheap. The first house that we found, well, we looked at a ton of them, but it was at 1516 Cedar Street, right next to David Snarton's church. 1516 Cedar Street. That house is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. It has one lot, a lot on the side, and a lot in the back. And it was like 20-something grand. And this was 8 years ago. And I was like, yeah, this is the house we want. Somebody was living in it. It just needed some paint, maybe a new couple ceiling fans. But this is the house we want. Now, I don't know why David didn't buy the house. The person we had an agent, but the agent of the person who sold us the house also wanted to buy the house. But guess who acted first? I did. And I still own that house today. That house today, well, let me go back. Guess how much the mortgage was on that house for $25,000 was almost 9 years ago. Not even $100. And the story was, like, one of my favorite restaurants is Ruth's Chris. I said, I go spend more at Ruth's Chris a month than the mortgage on this house. This is making sense. It makes sense to me. So if I can spend less than $100 on the house, and it's not always going to be like that, but if I can spend less than $100 on this house, and now the rent, I think the rent was $725. So after paying the rent, after paying the insurance, $50 insurance, I'm making like $500 or $600. Like, this just makes sense. So fast forward, now that we have the house, how do we duplicate it? And now I spent the last 8 years duplicating. But it didn't take me long. And because once I figure something out, once I like it, you can ask my wife when I married her. Once I like something, it's like, let's go. From 8 years ago, for the next 4 to 5 years, that's all we did. That's all I was entailed in, is buying real estate. If you heard me on Facebook, if you saw me out in the street, that's all I talked about is real estate. Real estate, real estate, real estate. And guess what? That's all I studied. Real estate, real estate, real estate. Guess where I was going to study this real estate? At 2 o'clock in the morning, I was on YouTube. At 3 o'clock in the morning, now I had to work the next day. 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm on YouTube trying to figure stuff out. I'm reading all the books, and then one day, I discovered CREA. Now, I know you mentioned CREA. Now, if you're not familiar with CREA, there's more black folks in this room that are members of CREA. And it is what it is. We're not, it just is what it is. But when I went to CREA, guess what? I didn't see the white folks. I saw the opportunity. I saw the opportunity to learn what they learned, what they knew, and try to figure out how to make some money. And so I learned everything I could to the point where, guess what? I'm not on YouTube anymore. I'm up here talking to you guys. And so, and even with CREA, now I have opportunities to sit on boards. They want me to come talk. They want to know all of this stuff because I've figured out a niche of real estate. And I see George in the back and shaking his head. Like, George has helped me tremendously. I remember, and I don't know if you had this opportunity, I remember meeting with George. My wife and I met with George at the 2nd Street McDonald's on Broadway and had a conversation with him and got all the game. And some of the things that George said to me, one of the things that always stood out was, know the area that you're trying to invest in. instead of investing blindly. And so I invest in two areas in Louisville. I invest in West Louisville, more specifically the Russell neighborhood. I'm probably one of the biggest landowners in Russell individually, outside of corporations. And I invest in the Shively area. I kind of got lucky on Shively, but as I started buying stuff in Shively, then other things just started becoming available to me in Shively. And I don't want to take up too much time, but I kind of want to give you guys an example of another niche that I ended up doing, which is what the city calls, or what black people really call it. It's not really true, but black folks call it the dollar house. Is anybody familiar with the dollar houses? So when you think about the dollar houses, when I look at these houses, what I look at is houses that have been dilapidated and abandoned for as long as I've been alive. And so it's not that West Louisville as a whole is a bad neighborhood. It's more so that 50% of it is vacant and abandoned. And so if you think about that, think about Detroit. Think about the image your head has about the Detroit real estate in Detroit and what it looks like. It's vacant and abandoned. It's not that it's technically bad. It's just that no one lives there. And so what I started to do, I was like, all right, instead of paying $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 for these homes, let me try to figure out how I can pay less for a house. Did they never? Oh, and so not only paying less for a house, still making a lot of money at the same time. And I'll give you an example. And if you're on the PVA, you can check my notes on the PVA. So I owned a house on 26 and I own several houses on 26th Street, but South 26th Street. So what the city does is they put out an RFP every month. And then in the RFP, they say, hey, these are the houses that we want to sell. Do you want to buy them? And the city will put them out, and everybody would have to respond to the RFP with their proposal. And the proposal is, how much it's going to cost, how much you think you can do to fix it up, and what are you going to do with it at the end? Are you going to live in it? Are you going to rent it out? Or are you going to sell it? If you're going to live in it, you get more points. If you're going to sell it, you get like half the points. But if you're going to rent it out, you get the less points. What I figured out is because I knew I was going to, one, I have a procurement background, so I kind of know how this thing works. So if the city says, we think this house is going to cost $30,000 to bring back to life, I just raised the price of that. I'll say, no, you're wrong. It's going to take $50,000. And guess what? My points go way up, which I already know how much it costs, and they don't. So here's an example, and I'll spell it out for the folks who are online. 644 South 26th Street. This house has been vacant and abandoned for about 10 years. So we came in, and guess what my bid was? And I grabbed this bid off the top of my head. Guess what the bid was? It's on 26th Street. 2,600. So I bid 2,600 on this house, and I won. I won the bid. I think the city said it's going to cost 30 or 40 grand to bring it back to life, and I told the city it was going to cost 50 grand to bring it back to life. So already my points are way up there. Every time you buy a house from the city, you got to pay the county attorney, and that's $50. So who can add all of this up right here? That's $52,000, $2,600, and $50. That's $54,650. Now, this took me about a year to do, about 10 months, about 9 or 10 months to actually complete this house. Now, this is a brand new house on 26th Street. Brand new siding, brand new roof, electrical, plumbing, floor, paint, everything in this house is brand spanking new. Yes, ma'am. I'm, what's 58? 52,000 plus 2,600 plus 50 bucks? Oh. So everything is brand new about this house. And here's where we miss the boat about West Louisville. This is where we miss it at. I'm renting this house out for, it's on Section 8 for $1,150. The mortgage on the house was, I think it was like $416 or something like that. So I'm making a great cash flow. But here's where we mess up at. If you're renting right now, if you're renting a house or renting an apartment, what does an apartment cost in Louisville? I did some math yesterday. A 2-bedroom apartment cost in Louisville right now is about $1,100. 2 bedrooms. You know how much a decent house outside of West Louisville, outside of Shively, a decent house, it's going to cost you like $1,600, $1,700, $1,800. Please look that up yourself. So here's where we missed the game. I wanted to sell this house for like $85 grand. Nobody wanted to buy it. $85,000 over, and this was during the pandemic. $85,000 over 30 years, because you can get a 30-year loan. I can't. I can only get a 20 because I'm an investor. But $85,000 over 30 years, you're paying like less than $600, maybe $500. So this is where we missed the boat. And when they say we missed the boat, one of the things they say is, I don't want to live in West Louisville. Okay. But you don't want to live in a brand new house in West Louisville. Because guess what? There are $250,000 houses being built in West Louisville, in the Russell neighborhood, that are already sold before they're even done with them. You ain't got to, don't believe me, just ride around. Just ride around West Louisville, you will see, especially around Russell, the Russell neighborhood, around 22nd Street, 20th Street, all those are brand new houses, $200,000 plus, and they're already sold. So if someone is going to come into this neighborhood and buy a $200,000 house that is brand new, why wouldn't you buy an $85,000 house that's brand new? And so I tell people this also. Okay, you want to move to Shively. You want to move somewhere else. When you buy that house in Shively or somewhere else, what are you going to do to it? You're going to put an alarm on it, right? You're going to put a fence around it, right? Why wouldn't you do that at the house in West Louisville? You're doing the same thing. You're not going to bother your neighbors, right? You wouldn't bother your neighbors in West Louisville either. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, we miss this and then go get in, a real high, deep debt that we can't afford. And then when you can't afford it, guess where you're going to come to? You're going to come to me. And yeah, you're going to come to us. Because I can tell you right now, consistently, every single day, I get an inbox or I get a tag on Facebook from someone looking for private landlords. Every single day. I usually don't respond to them. I don't respond because I have so many of them already. So I don't really need to respond. So I end up selling this particular house for $91,000. What was my profit? I'm going to round it up. About $37,000 was profit. All because I wanted to do it right, but since y'all didn't want to buy it, I sold it to somebody else. And so now I sold it to another investor who thought it was a fantastic deal, and they were getting $1,150 a month of income. So this house, this brand new house in West Louisville, that's around the corner from $200,000 houses in West Louisville, could not be sold to someone in West Louisville for $85,000, but an outside investor saw the value in it for $91,000. So you can't tell me that, and I know the numbers. Like, I already know the numbers, I already know what you're paying in rent. If you tell me right now what you're paying in rent, I can kind of guess where you're living at. And if you're living with family, like, how long is that going to last? Like, there's no reason you shouldn't have your own. And if you don't have your own, here's where you could have had your own. So I just wanted to kind of give that example on as far as like the dollar houses. But as far as real estate in general, as I started with, like, you have to figure out like your why in real estate. There is a why, and that why is really going to basically allow you to continue on this path. I've been in this game for a little bit over 8 years. I've been unemployed for almost 5 years. So when I quit my job, and I remember it like it was yesterday, I worked at the last job I had was at the mayor's office. I managed all the city's grant funds for housing. Like, I already kind of had some inside track. I knew what they were gonna do with Russell. I knew what they were gonna do with the Beach Terrace redevelopment project. And I remember I was sitting at a meeting and I left my phone, and I never do this, but I left my phone on my desk. And when I came back to the office, I was looking at my phone. It was just like, man, I gotta call these people. I've got all these problems. And I went home that night and I told my wife about it. I was like, I think I'm done at the mayor's office. You know what my wife said? I don't even know why you took that job in the first place. Fine. All right, great. That was all I needed. She was on board. I was already done. And 4.5 years later, we've been off to the races. Now, some people know me for other things in this room also, and I'll just give you a couple of those. But I'm going to compare myself to McDonald's. What does McDonald's do? Buy real estate. People think, and this was new on me. I learned that a couple years ago. Like, people think McDonald's is burgers, fries, and all that. And, they kind of are. But more importantly, it's real estate. And I'll just kind of tell you about some of my extra real estate. Like, I own Club Cedar. And people was like, oh, man, drinks and the food and this and this. Well, I own all the real estate around Club Cedar also. That's good. I now own Joe's Palm Room. People's like, man, you own Joe's? I own Joe's all the way to 19th Street. I own all of it. And I'm looking for more. And so I don't want to be known as the person who owns the clubs. When somebody asked me this earlier this week, it's like, what do you want to be known for? I was like, entrepreneur, real estate investor. It's like, well, what about, Club Cedar? I was like, it's real estate. Right. Because guess what? If the city comes in tomorrow and say, we're taking all the liquor licenses in Louisville, I don't lease that property, I own it. So I can turn it into something else. A lot of the businesses around town, just imagine if you, like a lot of my competitors, they lease their spots. And because I'm an owner, like I'm your competitor ultimately. And because I'm an owner, sometimes I'll say this on Facebook, like, I'm gonna go buy my competitor's business today. Because it's funny to me. I was like, if you don't like it, buy the building. Right. Because if the building is for sale, I might buy it. And I'm not playing about that. One of my competitors, and I won't say any names, one of my competitors has a parking lot that people like to park in, but he doesn't own it, someone else owns it. And I wanted to buy it from that other person and then put up their parking compliments of Club Cedar at their establishment. But, it's just the way it's business. It's not personal, it's business. And I want you to look at this business as the same way. Like if you leave here today, I need you to, one, get with George, get with John, get with someone, Miss Dana, in this place to try to figure out, like, how can I become an owner? How can I become an owner? I made the most money in the last 4 years during the pandemic. It was scary how much money we made during the pandemic. I don't know how to explain that. So when I hear that people were not working and jobs, just there's all these jobs out here, we made so much money during the pandemic. One of the things I learned is on my lease, like I don't do 12-month leases anymore. And I stopped doing 12-month leases before the pandemic. So this was around 2019. I actually learned this from Harry Borders, Borders and Borders. When the pandemic started, a lot of people were not paying their rents. And it's basically like you can't evict anybody for non-payment of rent. Let's get that clear. You cannot evict anybody from non-payment of rent. And I had people try that with me. And I had to gently remind them that you're on a 30-day, month-to-month lease. You can be evicted at the end of your lease. Folks didn't understand that. And so a couple attorney letters here and there, I got my rent. My bank said, we don't understand how you're getting all your rent. It's like everybody's on month-to-month lease. My competitors were doing 2 to 3 year leases, and I thought that was a bad idea. So if you do a 2 to 3 year lease on somebody and you can just do it and forget about it, I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I look at this thing up here. Like I can talk about real estate all day, but I actually want to answer some questions also. So I'll go ahead and give it to you, John.
That was phenomenal. Y'all give us some love. Oh, he just did it. He just did it. Donnie, are you going to be here for the panel we're going to have? Okay, so we're going to do our master chat here in a second. He pulled out some whole golden gems. I hope you're taking notes, but guess what? We're going to see who is hungry and studious because we're going to be asking some questions at the end. And if you were one of the ones taking notes and get those answers, we have some prizes for you that are going to be good and phenomenal. He said a couple of different things in there. I mean, hopefully, you took the thing that's going to help you the most. But this example is a beautiful example. And what he talked about is the value of owning some stuff and the position it puts you in to be able to make some decisions. As opposed to a person who doesn't own some stuff, you're not the one who gets to make the decisions on what happens with that. And you want to be the person who's in a position to be able to make the decisions that impact yourself, impact your community, and impact your family. And so that's the mindset shift that we're making today. And everything that he said when he was talking about buying buildings, he wasn't just talking about it for him. He was talking about it for you, if you received it. Did anybody receive it today? Are we going to have some people who go buy some buildings? Don't let Donnie be the only Donnie. Raise your hand if you're going to be Donnie too. I got a room. Now we got a room full of Donnie. Thank you for giving us that wonderful information. We're going to take action on that information. Next up, I'm bringing up Shannon Ballard. She's going to come and walk us through our master chat activity where we're going to have the opportunity to do a little networking. Welcome, Shannon.
Thank you. Shannon and Bridget Johnson. Good morning, Master Builders. We are so glad you all are here. So now we're going to get up and get moving a little bit. I just wanted to, let me put on my glasses. I want us to get up and get moving in a few moments. I just want to give you a little instructions on how the activity is going to go. Because what he just talked about in real estate, you want to build your team and you want to network. So we want to give you some tools so you can actually go out and network. So this was our master chat is just actually an elevator speech with a speed dancing twist, a speed dating twist on it. Okay, so it's a little bit of moving around. So it's just a little bit of moving around. So I'm going to have you all should have your script. You have a little template, and it should have on there business owner, student, employee, or parent or retiree. So it kind of should fit all categories. So what you will do is you will actually, you have a one, and you should have also this, you should have a one or a two. Does everyone have that? Okay, so I'll have all my ones come up, all my twos come on up, because we only got 15 minutes. We got 13 minutes to do this in. So, but I'm gonna have you all come on up, all the ones on one side of the tape, all the twos on the other side of the tape. Yeah, if you're a two, you go on one side of it, and if you're a two, you go on the other side, and just get in front of someone that you don't know. And me and Bridget are gonna do a brief presentation on the, yeah. We're going to do a brief presentation of how it should go, and then you all will actually talk to someone that you don't know. And actually, when we say switch, you'll just move. You'll move down one, okay? So everybody in front. Okay, so this is how, if you're out at a networking event or you're just out meeting, or you stopping, okay, we got some, did you not have one? Okay, yeah, okay. So this is how it would go. Okay, I'm meeting Bridget out somewhere. Hey, how you doing? I'm Shannon. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good. Well, I just want to let you know, I'm actually in a decorating field. I actually have a business called Balashay Home Designs. And I just want to know if you have anyone that you know that's interested in, like, I know I have a great eye for detail and decorating and just pulling things together. And I just want to know if you have anyone that you know that's a new homeowner or has started, trying to put their house on the market.
Yes, I go to Korea and I can introduce you to a whole lot of people that may need your services.
Okay, well, thank you. Now tell me about you. What do you do?
I am Bridget Johnson, and I'm the owner of Creatively Invented.
Oh, okay.
To help the teachers and parents with the challenging behavior and lack of focus in the classroom, I empower them to enhance the academic and social skills of every child. So I create fun, catchy, hip-hop educational products for home and school.
Oh, I like that because I have a new grandbaby, so I know we're going to need your services.
Oh, thank you.
All right, well, thank you. Okay, so that's just a little example of how you all would do that. And so we're going to say, go ahead and start. We're going to say, like 1, 2, 3, we're going to say, go ahead and get started. And actually, when we do that, when we say stop, we're going to ask you to switch. So what you'll do is you just move down one. So you're going to do it twice with somebody you don't know, okay? All right, so 1, 2, 3, go. You don't have any. Okay, we're going to switch. So hopefully any networking event, you normally get their digits. So I hope you got their information. If you want to connect with them, hope you got their business card or their digits. Okay, so now I'm only going to have the lane two. Lane two is the only one's going to switch, so you're going to move down. So you all move down one. Just everybody else, one, stay still. Two, slide down. Two, slide down. Two, slide down. All right. So now you should be in front of someone new. Okay, this is speed dating. So 30 more seconds, then we're moving. 30 more seconds. Okay, so it's time to switch. Hopefully you got the digits. So if you're on line one, you're gonna move to your left, to your right. Line two, stand still. You're gonna move to your right. Line one, still talking. Line one, you're gonna move. You're gonna move. You're gonna move. You're gonna move. Okay, you follow me. Okay. You're gonna move down. You move down. You're moving this. Yeah. One more time. You're here. And then you're here in front of him. Okay, this is your last time. Make it count. You got 3 connections. I know I gave y'all a bonus. I said 2. I gave y'all a bonus. Okay, time. Hopefully you all have made some connections. All right, master builders. Time. Time. All right, so now you all can go back to your seats. And now that you all have met some new people, yeah, y'all can go back to your seats now. I'm sorry, but you all have made some connections, and you all can continue after the session. So, yeah. So now you have some tools for you to go out and meet some new people everywhere you go. And we're so glad to have you here today. So now I'm turning back over to John Mays. Oh, actually, it's time for...
All right, okay. Let me see how many master builders we got in the room. We got master builders in the room? All right, you can only keep your hand up as a master builder if somebody here left with the digits of at least 2 people that you met. Okay, good. Now you're a master builder for real. Next time, if you connected with somebody, matter of fact, if you shook Donnie's hand and you didn't leave with his number, you just missed out. But guess what? You can get that later. So make sure that you get the contact information after you meet people. And then, here's the key to it, actually follow up. I can show you the screenshot when he was on Rob Bergeron and he put his number up there. I hit the screenshot and then I immediately text him right in that moment. Hey, what's up, brother? I'd love to connect. And he got back with me and we got a chance to chat. And so with that being said, I'm going to ask a few active investors who are at different stages to come on up. We have Mr. Donnie Adkins. We have my wife, the wonderful Joy Mays, who's a full-time real estate investor. We have Bridget Johnson, if she'll join us up here. We also have Dynamite Dana and Dana Spencer, who's going to join us up here for our real estate investment panel. And it's going to be facilitated by none other than the leadership locksmith himself, Professor Sherrod Ledette. Give it up for Sherrod.
Hey, I gotta take you on the road. I love them introductions right there. That's what's up. Hey, everybody, I don't know about you, so I don't know how long, I feel like I've been with Master Builders forever, but being in person, come on now. The energy, yeah, the energy. So if you're watching online, you definitely got to make sure you can get to the in-person things. Man, Donnie, brother, I can't, man. All right, so listen, I'm going to do my best to try to keep my composure, but so we're going to, this is the panel, got some great minds up here, some great people that got some beautiful knowledge to let us know about real estate. So I'll pose the first question because, again, it was the question that was pretty much stringed throughout the entire thing, which is the why, right? So why real estate? Of all the things we could have done, why real estate? Anybody want to jump at that question first?
Of course, the why real estate for me was after I didn't like being taken advantage of. And I thought that first person in Indianapolis was trying to take advantage of us. And once I figured out how to do it, I had determined that real estate was going to be the quickest way out of corporate America, and I was right.
I guess you probably maybe want some more answers. I'll share an answer too. For me, it was because that was the first thing that I knew that I could do. I was risk averse. I'm still fairly risk averse. I'm now becoming more open to entrepreneurship and things. But it was the safest way that I could see out of all the different ways that I found where I could put my money into something and it would still live. Like when you put your money in real estate, it's still alive. So if you sold the property, you would get your money back, minus some fees, and plus it goes up in value. So I thought it was very safe. And then once I knew a little bit more, I realized that was really and I learned about wealthy people, and I started reading books like the Millionaire Mindset and The Millionaire Next Door and the millionaire real estate investor and all these different things. All these people have all these businesses, but most of them started off in real estate. Especially as a black male, you know, most of the black males or black females that I met who who were the most successful people, I started asking them questions about how they got there, and like almost 100% of them owned real estate first. And it's the quickest way in a generation to change your situation and build some equity and some wealth is through real estate.
Just from a financial perspective, the numbers just made sense. So if you can buy a $30,000 house and put, you know, $50,000 into it, and now it's worth $150,000, you're like, where else can you make that kind of money? And so when I started thinking about that, I was like, so if I do this 3 or 4 times a year, then I can make more in money than what I'm making on my W-2 job. So the numbers just made sense.
Yeah, that's good. So that's the why. So, and you brought up a great point, John, about just the getting into reading the books and getting the knowledge. So my follow-up question is now that you identified your why, how did you start learning what you needed to learn in order to be effective and successful at real estate, right? And I know you said some books, but what were the first steps you took?
I'll say for the mazes, we did a lot of research. More John than me, he's the researcher. But just being able watching YouTube, podcasts, all those types of things is how we gained our knowledge. And then we would just give it a shot. It's trial and error, you know. That's what we did. And then once we found what worked for us, you just keep doing it. Just like Donnie said, once he found what worked, that's what you keep doing. If that's bringing it in, then that's what you keep doing, because that's what it's all about. I mean, you making your own rules in this game, in real estate, and what works for you may not work for somebody else, but they may be able to take a part of what you're doing, put it together for them, and then that's how they can make it work for them.
Same.
Yeah, I definitely say same. I say relationships too. I think that's the only thing I maybe add in. It's just like it's safety in numbers. And so, like, if I didn't know something, and I might be kind of 90% sure that I want to do something, but you really got to be all in. And so I would maybe ask somebody else something that I already kind of knew the answer to and just see if they said the same thing. And so just the more people that you know, that you can talk to and network with and be able to kind of draw some practical real-life examples, that's also a good thing.
Coaching helped me. I saw a lady that was making a lot of money in real estate, and I hired her as a coach. And she gave me the boldness to step out and gave me the information I needed not to walk in ignorance anymore. Because if your mindset is like, I got to have all this money, you know, and so you think, well, I only got this much, so I'll never do real estate. So coaching really gave me the empowerment to kind of move forward with real estate.
Okay. So we talked about the why. We talked about getting the information necessary, getting the learning. But there's always the one thing, regardless of real estate or business, anything that we do, there's that big word, right? The 4-letter word, fear. How did you overcome the fear? What helped you identify, one, after you got your why and you got the information, how did you overcome that fear?
I think Bridget just answered that as well, is the coaching. Like, the more you surround yourself with people who are already doing what you're trying to do, that helps motivate you, because you look at them like there's nothing different about them. They have a mind and 2 hands just like I do. So being constantly around people who are doing more than what you are doing motivates you and helps you to overcome those fears.
I agree, but I also think making mistakes help you overcome that fear. I had about 2 years ago, I have a 4-year-old, so about 2 years ago, we were in a house in Shively, and it was a paint, real quick house, but they were doing some electrical work, and my daughter was in my arm at the time, and she wanted to run around, and I had my brother and his wife in the house also, and we were sitting in the kitchen, standing in the kitchen, and the entire living room ceiling caved in. Ooh. And they were doing some work on that ceiling, and I was like, man, it looks funny, but it caved in. So I learned 2 things that day. One, I'm glad I had my daughter in my arms, because I couldn't explain it to my wife. had she got hurt. But two, when that ceiling came in, I immediately looked at it and said, oh, wait a minute. I can do down to the studs now. I already figured it out. I can do that now. And so that experience helps you, conquer fear also.
That was a whole nugget.
All right. So the name of the forum, or the forum that we're in, is, again, it's real estate shifting to the owner mindset. So mindset is what we're talking about. Getting into real estate when you first got started, or even as you continue to build, what was the mindset that you saw that happen? What was the first mindset when you first got into it? And if I can get somebody who is, very far along in it, what is the mindset now?
I just, to share, when I first started, I was a saver. And actually, when I was first sharing it at Master Builders, I was here to talk about leadership training. I've been in the restaurant business for a long time, managed a lot of people, knew how to manage other people's money, knew how to manage P&L, those sorts of things, but I didn't have any money myself, and I didn't know how to manage my own. And so I was teaching everybody how to budget, because I've always known how to squeeze a dollar. Like, I was the one at Kroger, like, when I saved more than I actually spent, I would come home and do this dance for my wife, and I would celebrate it, and I'd take pictures of it, and I'd be like, yeah, and go to the dollar store and, like, ball, like, just take 50, just get whatever I want, throw it in the cart, and, knew how to, make a dollar stretch. And so I was proud of that, and I taught people what I knew. And then George Forey, who's in the back, he was like, you college boys don't know nothing about no money. You need to learn how to make some money. I bet you're broke now, ain't you? I was like, okay. Well, yeah, but still, you ain't had to hurt my feelings, and so that process, and so it's the mindset, and we call it a broke mindset. It's not to be offensive, it's really just to get people's attention. It's the fact that you can't save your way to being stable. You can't save your way to setting your kids up, and you can't save your way if something does happen. You have to invest your way. And so now I'm not afraid to take financial risks, and so I think that's the biggest thing. And I know that I think me and Joy, we're a little bit faith over fear now, and so there's a spiritual context to that too. I just believe God, and so I literally now, people would say we're high-risk investors because we use a lot of leverage and other people's money, and we take on investors and things like that. That's how we've been able to scale. But I just keep betting it all back and just believing it's gonna, honestly believing God's gonna just make it, and He's been doing that. So that's what we've been doing.
I believe when you first start off, especially if you have a faith in God, that sooner or later you gotta quit talking it and do it. So you have to quit, talking by faith and actually go do the works. So faith without works is dead. So after, seeing God would supply all my needs and doing all this and doing all of that, I went to the bank to test that hypothesis. And God did supply my needs. So I was able to purchase my first property. So that took away the fear. Just, putting into practice what I've been believing all these years has really helped me move forward.
And I think understanding that real estate is solving problems, that's the mental shift that I had to make. It's just solving problems. It's one problem after another. And understanding that, going into it that it's not like on TV. You cannot rehab a house in 23 minutes. So it's a false picture of what the reality really is. It's solving problems, one problem after another. If you don't like solving problems, you will not like real estate, but your house will get broken into, things will happen, you'll just have to solve the problem. So get the people around you that can help you solve those problems, and then it's not that big of a deal anymore, because it's just solving problems.
So we're going to take a couple questions from the audience. Now, I know y'all heard all this great information, so I know there's got to be one or two, maybe three questions out there. So if you have a question, just raise your hand and we'll bring you a mic. Now, okay, there we go. Because I got plenty of questions.
Yeah, my question is just real simple. How do I get started?
He said, how do we get started? Sign them up.
So I would say the first thing is to be serious. Now, a lot of people come to me, and this is a joke I got. A lot of people come to me and say, hey, Donnie, man, I got $5,000. What do you think I can do with this? And I tell them, go sell drugs. It's like, it's real simple. And I say that in jest because 5,000, I can lose that real easy. And I don't want you to think I can turn your 5 into 60 overnight. So I would say, before you come and say, all right, what do I got to do? I'm ready to get started. I would implore you to go on YouTube and just start looking at videos, like how to be a real estate investor video. Start going on to Facebook. Like if you pull up my Facebook now, hell, if you pull up my Google now, the first thing you're going to see that pops up on my Google or my YouTube is something that either real estate focused or financial focused. All my podcasts are real estate focused or financial focused. Half of my Facebook and my social media is real estate focused or financial focused. So I already have all of those tools. So when you come and say, hey, I'm ready to get started, I've read this book, I read that book, I read that book, I listened to this podcast, and I've been to this seminar, like, what advice can you give me? And so I would say start there first. So you got to take the old saying, take the bull by his horns. So it's like, I got the bull, now what? That's when you say, what's the next step? So I would say take that bull first. And guess what? When you learn that, when you take that bull, you're going to figure out which faucet of real estate you're going to be in. I'm in real estate investing. I'm not in real estate wholesaling. You may look out something and say, whoa, wholesaling might be the avenue for me. Construction might be the avenue for me. A friend of mine's, her son, he's 19, and he was like, I would love to get in real estate. What do you think I can do? I told him to buy him a pickup truck. You buy you a pickup truck, and you come around me or you come around other investors, guess what? You're going to learn. And you're going to make some money because you got a pickup truck at 19.
I think that's a phenomenal answer, and I'm going to build into that just saying that, the first investment has to be in your own self and like in your own knowledge, and a lot of times I think we underinvest in our own knowledge, and so it's taken, if you do have some, a few $1,000s, is before we save that $1,000 is to invest that $1,000 into some education. Specifically about or with the right people, who can help you to be able to improve. Like you can do it alone on podcasts if you're very self-motivated. Like I could tell you, I don't have cable, but I do have a YouTube $12.99 membership, and on top of it, you're gonna find the same stuff. Eric Thomas, Earn Your Leisure. I got Alex Hormozy because he's bad on selling. I got David Never Sleeps, Phil Puchikowski, who people sleep on. I got Lynn Ritchie, tough. Tough. I got the Master Builder Academy. I got Bigger Pockets. I got Mark Ferguson, Invest for More, who's cold. I got Troy Kearns, who is ridiculously good, all gems. I got Tyrone Jackson, who's easy for stock market. I got, he's a bad boy. And that's Rob right there, but that's more on the multifamily side. And I got a bunch more, but those are a few examples of if you get into that, then YouTube will actually continue to show you different people who you don't know, because they'll say, hey, this person's an investor, or this person's interested in that, and they'll keep feeding you different names as well. So if you self-disciplined enough to do it yourself, and then actually listen to the podcast, then they ask, what book would you read? And then they'll give you a book. And then you have to be disciplined enough to go to Amazon. You could buy it used, buy yourself a $5, $6 book, but then you have to personally go read the book. So that's what I think. I really like the way he said that. It's like you got to be serious about it. Because if you're serious, you're going to put in the work that's very inexpensive or free. And then when you come to people like who have done that work, then you'll even know what the right questions are to ask. And so I think that's a good way that you describe that, Donnie.
You got any other questions in the audience? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question. I have a property that was left to me by my dad, but it's between me and my brother. My brother wants to sell the property because of quick cash, but me knowing with master builders that I'm not looking to get quick cash. The house needs to be fixed up. I want to fix up the house and I want to rent it out. And I just need to know where do I go from there? Because I have the property, but it needs to be fixed up.
If your brother wants to sell it for cash, you may want to look into and have an attorney trying to figure out how to pay your brother out if you want to keep the house. And then you said it was a family house?
Yeah, it was my dad's house.
Yeah. I would try to figure out how to get my brother off the deed of the house, and it sounds like he's going to probably need to be paid out.
Well, but basically, my dad said that I could do whatever I wanted to do with the property. So it's really not up to him what to do. But I know that.
Is he on the deed?
No.
Oh, okay.
I can share a little bit about this because I had somebody come recently and ask this question, and then I also saw a podcast about it too as well. Like, see, the thing we're dealing with family is like, this is why it's important for you all to have wills and trust. I'm gonna start with that. And George Forey's in the back saying we pray off of stuff like this, and the reason why I say we pray off of it, and just to get your attention, because it's like you think predator and it's like actually getting your attention, but it's like. The reason why we've been able to be successful buying houses for real cheap is because y'all don't have wills and y'all don't have trust. So you'll let the family argue and bicker about it. Y'all will break up as a family, argue, nobody get paid. Then somebody forgot to cut the grass. Now you all owe thousands of dollars because you ain't cut the grass. Then something fell down on the house, and now the siding is down. It looks but ugly, and it's overgrown. And now I come in and buy the house for like $6,000, and they cleaned up all the liens. They cleaned up all the stuff. I put the money into it. I've now been able to take your inheritance because you didn't have a will and a trust. So that's the first, and you want to be clear about who getting what. Now to address this specific one, it's like it's a family thing, and it's like, is some money worth falling out with your family? So probably not. So it's like, well, however much money it would be to be able to get that person's, your brother's need, would make sure he gets that need. But if you really wanted to keep the property, was it for sentimental reasons or for a specific dollar amount? Because sometimes you'll have a property, but the best investment from a dollar return standpoint is actually to sell it. But it might actually be where if you can structure it where you fix the house up, using some kind of leverage, and then you take the financing money and then pay your brother out whatever it is that y'all agree upon at first, but then you keep the rights to the property after that. That could be a way where, it could be a win-win for both of you. Yeah. And I know a lot of people who've done it, so we could talk about it too. I wouldn't mess up your family relationship over some money. So whatever it is that they need to make, just find a way for them to be able to get that without losing the property if you think it'll cash flow.
Thank you. I just had a question. If you already own a property and flat out, if you don't owe anybody on it, and you want to get the value of the property out of it to be able to either reinvest in that property or take that investment off of that property and purchase another property. What is the process of that?
Is this an investment property or your house?
No, it's a rental property that I already own. And so it's got collateral in it. So how do you get the money out of that property to be able to advance you?
Yeah, just go to a local bank. I recommend a credit union and basically get a loan off of that house. It's usually about 80% of the value of the house, but I've been hearing credit unions lower that to 75% of the value of the house. Is there a renter in the house?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, if the house is in decent condition, it's being rented out, and you've kept up on all your books and the tax returns, yeah, that should be a win-win situation for you.
So is an actual loan better than a line of credit?
Well, the bank will probably give you either one. It really doesn't matter. The line of credit, the only thing about the line of credit is it's due usually after like a year or 2 years or something like that, whereas a loan, of course, you have to pay back. But the line of credit is all due at a specific point. And so depending on your finances, what you plan on doing, et cetera, the line of credits are usually kind of a little bit trickier. But yeah.
I think that was and then it's like, it's also knowing what you want to do. And so, like, if it was me personally, I would take the property and I wouldn't have any more cash associated with it. I would find a bank and say, I want to sign my name and then I want to buy this. How much of this can I get? And Like if this property that I have is worth $100,000, and I would say I want to do a $500,000 deal. I want to buy a $500,000 property, and I want to put this house down as collateral, and then you can leave with a $500,000 deal just by signing your name. And like there's a lot of banks who will do stuff like that. So I think it's just a matter of what you want, the scale of what you want. If you just wanted some rehab money to buy another house for cash, and you just needed a checkbook for like 6 months to be able to rehab a property, then you could do a line of credit, something like that. But a line of credit, you just make sure you pay it back, because at the end of that year, the bank gonna come for their money. Like, nah, we just choose not to extend. You at too low of an interest rate or whatever they might come up with, or you more high risk or whatever they feel, and then they need all their money in the moment.
All right, great questions. So I think that concludes our time and the panelists. So let's give our panelists a great round of applause. I appreciate it. Great time. So.
All right, Master Builders. Thank y'all, panel. That was phenomenal, wasn't it? It was good to be able to get those questions answered. All right, so we're going to be closing out, but what's going to happen now is you're going to have the opportunity to hear more about Master Builders, how if you want to be a part of the masterminds and some of the other things that we're doing, additional information. We have Erica Berry, who's going to come up here. She's going to share with you a little bit more about how you can become a member of Master Builder Academy. Of course, this is a nonprofit. There are no paid staff members, and every single thing that we do is all to be able to give back here into yourselves and to the community.
Thank you, John. Wow, you guys, we're back in person. How awesome is this? I'm excited. Well, so thank you again today for joining us at Master Builders Academy, Forum number 8, 2020. It's our first in-person forum. I'm excited, as I said. I'm glad we're here, shifting to the owner's mindset. One thing I remember is when the gentleman said, what Mr. Foree told him is know the area that you're trying to invest in. Don't go in blindly. When you go in blindly, look, you're searching, trying to find things, you make mistakes, you bump into things. Not that you won't make them, but you can at least make them with a little more information, okay? And know your why. We're doing all of this, you gotta know your why. Okay, so to tell you a little bit more about Master Builders, if you wanna be more involved and get more support as you are shifting your mind to the owner's mindset, we'd like to offer you the MBA opportunity. Okay. And they're gonna put it up on the screen for me in just a moment. Because they're not gonna leave me just hanging like this, are they? No. They're not. All right, so we do have different membership levels. So as you join, you could start off at the silver membership, which is $250 a year. That is Master Builders regularly scheduled forums 2 times a month, masterminds 2 times a month, access to the libraries, which is the forums, the PowerPoints, the handouts, ability to bring a person to the meeting, the annual MBA event, and merchandise access. That is the silver membership at $250 a year. The gold membership at $500 a year, you get the curriculum updated regularly, group coaching, business promotion and marketing through MBA. So those are the things that you get at the $500 level that you didn't get at the $250 level, okay? So you get all those other things as well. At the platinum level, which is $1,000 a year, you get the membership, you get coaching on business, finance, real estate, video promotion, and member of your business, invited to open board member meetings once a month. The curriculum is updated regularly. You get all of those other things. So the things that are highlighted in bold, those are the things that are in addition to at the platinum level. So you get a lot more. You get that one-on-one coaching at this level. We also have a student membership level, which is $50 a year, and you have to be, it's up to 25 years of age and currently enrolled in school. So it's open to board meetings, and that's a perk that is not allowed in some of those other levels. So as a student, you do get that perk. You get the Master Builders regularly scheduled forums 2 times a month, the mastermind meetings, and access to the library, and ability to bring a person to the meeting and the annual MBA event. All right, so those are the things, and that's the membership level. If you are interested in, and I know you are, because you did not sit here and feel like you do not want to be a part of this, you can go to our website, and that is masterbuildersacademy.org. Scroll down to where it says register now and click on Let's Go. You can also send an email to masterbuildersacademymba@gmail.com. We do have a new member that we would like to bring up today. Oh, look at the beautiful music that's playing for the new member. I love it. I believe it's is it TA Foree? Come on up. We would like for you to, thank you. They're going to take a picture here? Yes. Awesome, thank you. TA, welcome. You want to come up?
And thank you very much to Miss Erica Berry. Thank you. Before we close out today, we got some more members coming up. All right, they're going to put some more members up. While they're putting some more things up on the screen, I'm going to ask you all some questions. Let's see who's some master builders, who's hungry and studious here, because we got some tremendous books over here, and so you're going to be happy about this. So here are your 6 questions. Is what should you do when you find yourself on the defensive or being negative? Right here. Call a technical on you. Come on down. Professor's going to get you one of these books right over here. Take your choice. We got 2 amazing books. We have Atomic Habits, and we also have Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Uh-oh. Hey, I'm going to tell you, both of these books are game changers. Yeah, Rich Dad, Poor Dad on the finance, Atomic Habits for all of the above. Anything you're thinking of, you want to be better, read Atomic Habits and apply it. Number 2. How many years did Donnie Atkins spend researching real estate? We've got by show of hands. Come on now. We got a call on you. All right. 5. Anybody want to raise a hand? Where we at? Raise a hand in the back. I see you. 8 years. Come on up. There we go. All right. Now, hold on. Now, where did Donnie Atkins, where did he start studying real estate? Uh-oh, I saw his hand right here first. It was YouTube. YouTube, come get your book. Make sure you get called on before. I love the sound effects. All right, so number 4. It's getting tight now, y'all. We down to the finish line here. What does the city put out each month with a list of houses to be sold? Uh-oh, this is the first one I saw in the back. It re-pointed to her. All right, Amisha. RP, come on up for your book. Let's see what we got left. Let's see what she chooses. You can't miss with these books, though. Let's see what we got. Ooh, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So we got one of each. This is a critical question now. If you want your selection of books, and you got to be quick, because I got some judges in the back to see who's raising their hand the quickest. All right, and if you already won one book, you can't get a second book, too. So you already made your selection. All right, so number 5. What can you not evict tenants for? Was it this brother right here? Is that on us? Right here. Non-payment of rent. Come get your book. All right, here we go. Okay. All right, now this question was asked. It said, what helps you overcome fear in doing real estate? There were a couple. Okay, wow, the sister right here. What's that? Making mistakes. All right, very good. Come on, y'all give it up for the people. Don't be salty if you didn't get it. Y'all give it up for those who got a book. Thank you for taking notes. Thank you for paying attention, Master Builders. Come on up. All right, now we're going to play a little bit about those who are members, and then we're going to go ahead and do our final closeout. So you're going to see that here coming up on the screen here in a second. You're now better, everybody. You are now empowered. You all now have some information that if you apply it, the steps that you heard today can be life-changing for you. And just like Dynamite Dana said, she got over her fear. She called it technical on herself. And now look at her a year later, and she's living her best, operating in the fullness of her gifting, using all of her skill sets and not having the restrictions that she was bound to previously, because she was able to get freedom by taking some action. And so, of course, we are going to end right now in prayer. Be looking out on that screen for some more information. But, Lord, we thank you, Lord, for this time. Thank you for the information that you shared in this midst. Lord, give us the courage and strength to be able to apply it. Lord, thank you for this institution of master builders. Even thank you for our president, Michael Ford Jr., as he's traveling. Lord, bless him in a mighty way, and even bless us to be able to do all the things that we've been called to do. And so we appreciate you. We give you glory in Jesus' name. Amen.